saying anything.
That's fine.
Introduce myself. Wait. Okay. What was I supposed to say? Sorry. I'm.
No problem at all. Let's see. Try and get the game going here real quick. Just if you'd like to introduce yourself, who you are, what you've done, what this game is.
Okay. Can you guys hear this?
Yes.
Okay, it's loud. Okay. So I'm Sean Hogan, or Seagaia2 on Twitter. I made this game Anodyne with a friend John Kitaka.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked together from like about last June to this like February on it.
Okay,
And
Sean, it looks like we may need to. Can you turn your voice up a little bit? Sorry to interrupt.
let me try to find that.
Yeah, I'm bad with Skype.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is probably louder.
Yeah, that sounds good. It sounds good to me, at least.
Good. Right, so I made this game with Anodyne, and it's sort of this like adventure. I guess we'll see that. But basically, it was our first like big-ish game that we worked on together, and it ended up on Steam, and it's done pretty well so far.
Mm-hmm.
Good enough for the two of us. And so both of us, John and I, are working on a new game now. It's called Even the Ocean.
Okay, yeah.
And it's sort of this like, longish adventure platformer of sorts. Kind of like a... I don't want to say Metroidvania because there's not really upgrades or anything. It's hard to describe, but there's a... Let me post a link to the website.
Okay. And then we can also do. Let me do this for you. Oh,
I got a warning. Oh.
Oh, let me mod you right now.
That's fine.
Permit. Seagaia. Good old Twitch. There you go. You should be able to post links now, and then there's a link right there to your website and also your Twitter, and you have been greenlit with Anodyne so far, correct?
Yeah. We So that happened in like late February because a lot of like nice stuff fell into place with the Pirate Bay and all this promo stuff, and like a lot of stuff happened, and we ended up, and we got enough votes, and I guess Steam was like, okay, you've been getting votes fast enough, so here you go. And the weird thing, I mean, that hasn't really been consistent for greenlighting everyone.
Sure.
So I mean, I'm glad it happened, but it's hard to know the exact logic behind their choices.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. And congratulations on that. That's definitely one of the big things that's difficult about this game. And being an indie game, for that matter, is getting in and going ahead and getting greenlit. It's really important, my friends, to get greenlit. It makes a big difference. So once again, as you see, links come up for greenlighting the different games that we have put ahead in. Please go ahead and show some love and yes, vote them. Now this game has been greenlit though, so loving them a little bit with the maybe some monies or some tweets isn't such a bad thing.
Yeah, it's half off for the summer sale. Hopefully they'll give us a daily deal or something during it. They actually forgot to tell me when the summer sale started, and I emailed them like a few hours before it started. I was like, when's the summer sale starting? They're like, oops, we forgot to email you.
Nice. Good job,
Starting
Steve.
in an hour. I'm like, okay.
So, we jump in. We're not sure what's going on right now. We're confronted by a cloaked man. Well, it's about time. Greetings, young. I'm Sage, the village elder. You have been summoned here because the darkness has spread across the land. The darkness seeks the legendary Briar. To use the Briar's power for evil, you must reach it first. You must protect the Briar. So I would say, in a very loose sense, that's kind of the general idea that you're aware of out of the beginning. But the story definitely does evolve throughout the game.
Yeah, it evolves a little bit, or I mean, like kind of.
Oh, you got really quiet.
I'm quiet.
Yeah.
Talking to the wrong. How about now?
About the same.
Right. About this?
Yeah, a little bit better.
Okay. I'm literally like holding it up to my. I'm using this really cheap mic from like Hey You Pikachu. Can you hear anything?
Yeah, you're good again.
Okay. Um. Yeah. So that's the general like gist of the story. I mean, it's not exactly what the story is, but it's kind of just there to serve as a base, uh, like explanation of what's going on, even though it ends up not being exactly the case. I mean, a lot of the story ended up being a little bit too vague, so it's very open to interpretation, which is like fine. I mean, some people got pissed off. Some people were like, "Oh, you're pretentious." One review in general just makes me want to like.
I'm with you on that.
We've mentioned the name, but
we've discussed as developers and LPers and individuals in general that it was a little uncalled for because the game does, and this is our first weapon of the game, which we'll get to in just a second of why it's a broom, but because the game is very open to interpretation, eventually you look into kind of what Young is and who he is and what he's done in the past and how he feels. So it's something that I remember as we played on stream, we actually gone through and played the whole entire game and enjoyed it. But we were kind of every once in a while like, okay, what's going on exactly? And it was a lot of fun to ask the viewers and think of myself, all right, guys, what do you think's going on? And then, some people are like, oh, I don't know. And then some people are like, oh, it's this, this, and this. So it's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess it's something it'll be nice to kind of like look back on in a few years and kind of just see, what went wrong. But it's kind of nice that it's flawed in that sense because it's kind of like a reminder of, oh, okay, like your first like big game.
Sure.
And the person in chat, it's open to interpretation. I don't think you can really misinterpret something because like.
Oop, getting a little quiet again.
I don't think you can misinterpret anything. Because once something's like out there, it's just open for anyone to sort of, interpret how they wish.
I like this part, by the way. This is, I think you'll be on a slight delay, but this, I was talking to chat the first time, and I was like, oh my god, I can't kill it, and then it fades away.
Yeah, like a lot of some of like the smaller details in the game were kind of, like sometimes they don't have totally explicit reasons for it. They're kind of like, okay, I think this will kind of suit the ideas behind this game.
I think you're fading in and out on volume. They're saying there's a Skype auto adjust, which I'm gonna look for. I apologize about that. Automatically adjust speakers. Automatically adjust microphone settings. All right, let's try it again.
Oh, is that okay? Is this fine?
A little bit louder if you can.
Yeah, maybe it's on my side. Let me see if I can change the setting. Fucking Skype tools. Oh, okay.
There you go. You sound
good.
There
we go. I turned the stupid thing off.
There you go. Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, fixed it. Okay.
Nope. And one of my favorite characters in the game, outside of a couple others, which I won't spoil because there is quite a bit to this game. We have sorry about that. I was going way too fast. Oh, I've never seen you before. Are you a fellow traveler? Huh? You want to protect the Briar from the evil darkness? Well, I have no clue what you're talking about, but sounds cool, I guess. So we've met one of our first, I would say, maybe not allies, but NPCs that are kind of on our side, at least that we think of at the moment.
Yeah, so Mitra's, hopefully I'm loud enough. Let's see if anyone in the chat says it's fine. Is it fine?
Yeah, at least on my side it sounds pretty good. And I can go ahead and drop my volume a little bit more if we want. So let me, I'm going to drop my volume a little bit more. There we go. I should be quite a bit quieter now. I tend to overpower people quite a bit.
I guess we won't spoil Mitra or anything, but
yeah, no, Mitra, at least at the moment, seems to be on our side and was peddling her wares. Or is it a her or he? I always thought it was a her.
It's actually neither.
Okay.
Actually, all of the characters in the game are genderless.
Okay.
It's interesting that I don't really know what. No one's really associated gender with Briar.
Okay, sure.
People tend to assume Young and Sage are males, and that
Sure.
Mitra is a girl. And I guess that's suggested by the pixel art, but they're in fact like genderless. The gender doesn't really have any importance in my construction of the story, but you know it may in others.
There's
But
no,
this-
yeah, there's definitely no point in the game where it really says, you are him or her or something. It doesn't really assign genders, like you said. It's more of, I guess, how you interpret the pixel art.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, if gender was important and played, you know, a role, we certainly would have made it more explicit. But as far as the ideas of this game went, gender didn't really have anything to do with the story or the interactions between the characters.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay. And we've gone ahead and met Sage again, our village elder, and asked if... So Sage asked, not he or she, I guess, is the proper, do you have a weapon? And, of course, you hit your attack button, which I'm using a controller at the moment as A. You can assign all your different random buttons and configure it every time you start up, so that's really nice. So if you screw up your configurations, you're able to redo it. And he's not overly impressed with the broom. And as a kind of, I would say the game is definitely inspired by Zelda, would be appropriate to say.
Yeah, Link's Awakening the most. Kind of. I mean, Link's Awakening had this like kind of underlying feel of dread
Sure.
to exploring its world. Not so much like the isolation, but sort of just the premise that everything in it would effectively die.
Okay.
You know, I mean, like the world wasn't like Link's reality, but I don't.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'm with
everyone
you.
there would die as soon as you know the windfish wakes up or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And this. I want to interrupt 1 second, real quick. That this is a great mechanic that I really tote and I'm very happy about. It's showing right here the interaction between this dust that I can hit and then re-hit to drop again, and the interaction between these lasers, which are gonna damage us. So without saying, okay, this is how you need to do this, it's kind of showing you off the bat as once again right here, which is I think great game design.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, with that, like, you know, I thought people would experiment for themselves, but a lot of testing, I guess people would just stand there for a while and kind of just be like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I guess. So in a way, it's like a compromise between not doing anything at all and being too explicit about it.
Sure.
And it ended up working fine in the end.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's nice. Also here, too, we have fought one of these before, but they don't move right now. I don't know if you're doing that as a story element or to kind of teach players, all right, it's locked here, there's no way to get out, but if you hit him in the back, because you can't hit him on the armored side, eventually, look, the room opens up, you can proceed. Similar to, once again, not to harp on it, but the old Zelda of you kill the enemies in the room, and usually that's what you need to proceed.
Yeah, I mean that's the general like idea of the dungeons.
Yeah.
In that room, like a lot of this room is probably the most over-designed, maybe, like because once you get people used to sort of interacting with objects and kind of knowing, you know, some base examples of interactions, they end up being a little more comfortable, you know, interacting with the rest of the game. So you don't have to, you know, over-design rooms for forcing like understanding of, you know, this mechanic or that mechanic. Like that room with the first like shield enemies was redone a few times because people would stand there forever and just be like hitting them on the side and be like, oh, you can't do it. You can't beat this enemy. This game sucks. I'm like, okay.
Oh no. And that's the thing is it's not I would say a development standpoint. At that point, I would say for most of us that grew up with this type of game, that's kind of one of those things like, okay, you probably should have known that. But I do like the fact that instead of getting angry at the viewers or the gamers, that you're like, all right, I'm going to try and solve that, but not be condescending at the same time. I'm just going to kind of adjust this here and here, and we'll go from there.
Right, and I mean it depends on the game
Sure.
whether or not you want to do stuff like that. Like the focus of this game isn't. I mean, there's a lot of the mechanic stuff, but the focus isn't, like exploring and understanding these mechanics. And because of that, I think it's okay to sort of step in with design to make some things easier to learn. I think a good example of a game that goes opposite to that is Starship Program. I like to talk about that a lot. Its focus is totally upon, discovering everything about this game's universe, and so a tutorial for that wouldn't make as much sense. Because it's so much focused on, exploring it with platforms and discovering how everything works.
Sure.
Whereas with Anodyne, there's kind of some of that, but a lot of it was kind of we just want people to sort of try and comprehend the entire world of the game. And so we kind of wanted to make it so that everyone would be able to finish it.
Okay, and then you kind of touched upon some stuff right here, and that kind of relates to the cards. Would you like to discuss the cards a little bit?
Yeah. So I think the cards work well, and they also don't work very well. The way
The
they
puns
work
here
well
are terrible,
is
but terribly awesome, my friend.
yeah, John did a lot of the writing. Curtis Anodyne for a sequel. I'm just like briefly looking at the chat sometimes.
Yeah, go for it.
Crap. Right. So the cards, they work well in that they serve as a way to kind of remember the places that you've been throughout
Sure.
the quest.
Mm-hmm.
I think they kind of work as a way to see all of these areas at once, but through like a representation of the cards. I suppose a world map could have achieved that as well. They don't work well because they kind of basically act as these like really like lame things that just unlock gates for no reason.
Okay.
So that was kind of like a pretty big failing, I think, on our part. Like, but we try to like sort of justify it by applying it to kind of a way of remembering the game.
Okay.
Like that's something we're trying to move away from in the next game, like having arbitrary collectibles sort of just to unlock things, and they don't really make sense in the context of the game, like universe or whatever.
All right.
Like something we're really trying to do with the next game is kind of have it so that everything in the game's narrative can kind of be like reasonably explained. Like, like you don't just have like keys and boxes that open these gates. Like
Okay.
someone could ask, who put the gates here or whatever. Why are there keys? And for Anodyne, you have like a lame answer like, oh, it was a dream. Don't worry about it. And we were trying to kind of just avoid that. We'll probably still fail in like multiple ways, but it's more conscious now that we've finished Anodyne.
Okay. Well, I think you're. Oh God, get out of here! This is our first boss, by the way. I think you're a little harder on yourself than you need to be. You definitely have put together an amazing game.
Thank you.
And it's wow. I've seen it's once again. I've played this game. I have beat this game as I have with most of the games that we're going to be seeing tonight. Trust me, the average streamer I watch dies to that a lot. The game does have a nice difficulty curve to it, but I feel it's not a bad situation to have certain things. There are gameplay elements in a game to make it a game. I mean, if there wasn't some of the cards which help you to access other areas later on, you could just run to the end and beat the game, because really,
Yeah.
the big thing that you get, you don't level up per se, but you're going to find, as we see right here, more hit points, which is going to be invaluable later on to some of the harder enemies, and abilities to kind of help your combat a little bit as well. But, I mean, if there wasn't these cards, I could technically have run all the way to the end and beat the game, if I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's there for, like, pacing, and it works fine. There's better ways to go about it. I mean, I'm proud that we finished it, and I'm, like, very proud of the game. I mean, I'm glad we finished it, because there's a lot to, like, learn from it, so... And I'm glad that people like it, which is nice, of course.
Yeah, no, that definitely is always a big thing.
Let's see. I'm looking through the chat. Okay, Banshees.
Banshees?
Okay. Does it change the difficulty options? There are no difficulty options. As I, like, as I sort of mentioned earlier a bit, the focus for the game was that if someone tried enough, they could make it through entirely. This did result in the game being a little easier, like kind of easy. Like there's a lot of checkpoints, and there's a lot of save spots, so there's no difficulty options, unfortunately. But you can always, set your own difficulty and just not save in any of the checkpoints if you want to.
Which
But
I would not recommend. The game does later on ramp up difficulty. Some of those later dungeons, you're going to be even with what is it, like 20 health max at the end of the game?
like 16.
Oh, so it's about 16. So we'll get pretty much one new bar after this, plus another slash of health. You're gonna start taking a lot of health really quick. The iframes of once you get hit aren't very long, so I would say they're normal to a little shorter. So you're gonna take damage.
Yeah. Um, Things get harder. There's like some platforming, and some people have a hard time with it. Oh, someone's asking about portable. Well, I'll type it and say it.
Yeah, go for it.
So Raspberry Pi isn't that Android or I don't know. Is it Android? Anyways, I don't know what I can't remember what Raspberry Pi runs, but if it can run Adobe Air, you can run. Kurt. It runs on Android and runs on iOS. The iOS version is out now. The Android version is coming out in September now, I think.
Okay, nice. So an Android version.
It's been done before the iOS version, but the thing is that it's releasing in this special way that I can't say.
Right.
And as a result, we have to wait until then to release it.
Okay.
So sorry, Android people. And also, the nice thing about the iOS version coming out first is that a lot of people can whine about the controls there, and then we can fix it for the Android version release, which will be probably like 100 times bigger.
Okay. Will you be releasing different content for those, or it's just going to be a good, solid port?
It's just a port.
Okay.
The controls will be, by the time it releases in September, the controls will probably be either touch gestures only, or virtual controls, or kind of a mix.
Okay.
People really hate the virtual controls. I don't have an issue with them, but I can understand why.
Some people aren't fond of them.
Everyone, I think maybe people's thumb sizes might be the issue. Like I have a small thumb, I guess. Or everyone licks their fingers before they touch the screen. I don't. But there'll be a way to sort of like move the character later with touching the screen and then like tapping to attack or jump or whatever. Hopefully. Probably.
Oh, okay. Now this is for people that whether either they've played a lot or this is kind of one of the first NPCs that you jump into that maybe isn't exactly forthcoming with everything, because like you're not really sure with Mitra. You're kind of like, oh, okay, you popped up and you walked off. You don't really seem to understand what we're talking about or the Briar, but you find this person, Edward, and he talks about he feels that everything is watching him. Is there? Do you feel that is that a flavor thing, or is this more going towards kind of the idea of the game?
It's kind of related to the themes that the areas around this area are related to. So like some ideas related to kind of paranoia as related to sort of isolation. So originally so I still have a build on like Newgrounds hanging around. Will it be workable on a Raspberry Pi? I'll answer that in a second. Fuck, what was I talking about? Okay, yeah, the
isolation in this area.
Guy. So originally, this is an area that I worked on when I was still working on it myself. So I worked on this game by myself from last March to June, and this area is supposed to be kind of like lonely, isolated, kind of represent some ideas like with like paranoia of a character. And so I just put a man like sitting in the corner over there, kind of just like crying into his or shaking into his knees or whatever.
Yeah, he's having a bad time.
Yeah, he's having a really bad time. And John comes along and he convinced me to add dialogue to the game, which I think is a good idea. And so he kind of made that guy into its own character and gave him a little bit of a story related to worrying about someone's in the mirrors or whatever.
Accentuating the paranoia feeling.
Yeah, like accentuating some of the ideas the area's around.
Okay.
And that's kind of how a lot of the NPCs act, sort of to give kind of like a verbal. That's how we would like them to act. It's kind of like a verbal representation of some of the feelings the area we were trying to give with it. So a lot of the NPCs in like the nicer areas we'll see later are kind of more playful or just like
Sure.
goofy even. That's generally the NPCs, their functions in the game.
It's less about it. You shouldn't dwell on everything he said and try and understand, because you're not really gonna understand it. It's more like you said. It's that individual was kind of talking about the paranoia and verbally setting the mood for the area more than he's not giving you a hint on, like, okay, the seeker one, you need to look for him and understand what he's saying. It's more of just a mood setting, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not. I mean, there's no way to like convey that that's the case to the player, which
Sure.
is why I think there's a lot of difficulty in thinking about the story, because we didn't really make it clear that these NPCs are for that function in our construction of the game.
Some people are taking it too literally and trying to understand
which is
everything.
fine, right? I mean, like, that's not their fault. It's like our fault, and it's okay. I mean, and it's fine because some people get some stuff out of it, which is good. So about the Raspberry Pi, I don't know. I don't really have any plans to do it because to be honest, I'm like really tired of porting it.
Right. Well, you've been doing quite a bit of it recently, correct?
Like, I don't want to think about porting it, unless it'll be effortless, which I don't think it will be for the Raspberry Pi.
Right.
Unless it can install like Mac software or whatever. Like, if it can run Adobe Air, then okay. If there's a Linux version, then yeah, it'll work. It should work fine. If you can run some of the Adobe Air runtimes on it, then yeah, you could probably figure out how to get it to work. I think you just need some like library files from Adobe Air.
Oh, okay.
And it'll work, maybe.
Nice.
Maybe. It's Linux, right? So like, just believe in yourself and maybe
I like it. And now we're meeting one of our fun NPC units. We're kind of in our happier place, and this is Miao Xiao Tuan Why that name, by the way? Any reason in particular?
Hold on.
Yeah, go for it. And he's gonna follow us around for a little while.
Thanks, Andrew. We're gonna need to talk about this like remix thing later. So the cat's name is I think it's based on John's girlfriend's two cats.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, the cat was there sort of, again, to kind of contribute to the mood of the area. And act as this kind of like funny NPC that follows you around. And the name, I think he also wanted to like put her cats in the game in some fashion. So that also contributed to it, and putting it into this like fields area would be a fine place to put it in.
Right. Because Meow won't actually help you out in combat and only follows you around to a certain area, but you definitely wanted to add in the character as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so with regards to the soundtrack, it's also half off right now.
Oh, nice.
There's a remix album coming out in August, I think. Releasing in a special way, not the same special way as the Android version, but a special way. If any of you guys, let's see, Sparse Vector actually did a remix for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Calum is doing a remix. He did a remix of, well, I won't spoil it, but you've already heard it, and it's very short, and it's very cool. Sparse Vector's remix was a song that is much, much later in the game.
Right.
And there's a lot of nice stuff on there. I really like all of the pieces so far. we even have Terrence Lee from Dust Force or Lifeformed. He's doing a remix.
Oh wow.
And he's also gonna use it in like his Double Fine documentary soundtrack he's been doing. So I'm really excited to hear that one. I should probably tell everyone that it's not due till like August now because it got.
So in about August, we're thinking about seeing that then.
Yeah. Yeah. So that'll be exciting and fun. It's a lot of fun to have a lot of friends doing music to kind of do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's pretty cool.
And this is actually a shop owner here. We can't actually buy any of this. There's no currency in the game. The point of this, besides being really funny to actually talk to him, we've talked about this before, but for the new people and for today, do you want to kind of introduce it a little bit?
The game or the shop?
The shop in general.
Whose idea was the shop? I think it was Sean's idea. Kind of like another like funny thing to add to the game, and also I think it was kind of like poking fun at the idea, not only the idea of kind of just like giving these like overpowered items, and I can't really remember, probably something related to like how we wanted to keep the mechanics really minimal with the game.
Sure, with the broom and later on you get a jump.
Yeah, kind of poking, I guess, kind of the making fun of like the expectation that like where are all the upgrades? You know, when is the dusting broom gonna turn into a vacuum cleaner? Or when is my broom gonna be a better weapon and like start shooting things and killing everything instantly?
Right.
So maybe a little mean-hearted in that sense, but like.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. I was definitely not offended by it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Like, yeah, like the humor and stuff.
For a game that has you using a broom to kill things, I feel that getting a gun would be a little bit much. Oh,
yeah,
also here, this is pretty rude.
Let's watch this. Yeah.
Everybody when we first played this, everybody got really pissed off when I did that.
What'd you do that for? Right?
Yeah. They're like, no, why'd you do that? And he's not down here anymore, and the area turns red in the water as soon as you kick him off into the whirlpool.
Yeah.
But this would be one of the parts where the game opens up. Now, I would say there is a little bit of linearness on, like, you kind of have only a couple places to go. This being the next dungeon here, and then also this is our fast travel area. So this will be all the locations in this area are going to be represented by those 4, and then you can move back to the beginning if you want, including a save right down there as well. So this helps you travel around the world later on when it kind of opens up, almost a la like an old Final Fantasy, where towards the end of the game it opens up a little bit. You got to do some traveling to proceed, most likely.
Yeah, so like a hub world.
Yeah. And the music here is very good. I feel the music and the aesthetics overall in the game set the mood very well. If you're open to actually trying to figure out what it is, this is a very gross, nasty place, as Mush says. It's a very scary place. It's there's definitely not friends here.
Yeah, it's very. What I had in mind was like a very organic kind of feel, and what was interesting was I think a lot of people were comparing it for like womb metaphors, like a mother or something. I think it's it is like in some essence like a mother of all these like creatures walking around the area.
Sure.
Yeah, this is an area that I think upon a lot, and I'm kind of like thinking, what was I thinking when I was making it? And there's a lot of back and forth, and this is definitely one of the more like cloudy areas in terms of kind of like story and stuff, because I even forget sometimes. I just kind of know roughly what theme it was supposed to be around with everything, but the details kind of like blend together. And
yeah, no, that's okay. That's
the story's like too big when I can't remember exactly why I did everything.
Well, I mean, it's sometimes it's just, hey, that's the way you created it, and that's the way it is. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and then the thing is like, This is definitely one of the areas that comes off as I guess it would come off as the most pretentious to someone who wants the game to be read as pretentious, because a lot of just the way the characters on the rocks talk and kind of their tone
Okay, yeah.
are like cryptic and kind of like dramatic. But I mean, whatever. It's nice.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It's definitely, once again, everybody gets something a little bit out of this game that's going to be a little bit different than the next person. It's not something that you probably play the first time. The average player, nothing against the quote-unquote average player, is probably not going to pick up on a lot of stuff. It's replaying it, like right even now, not only am I not getting hit, which is really surprising. Once again, guys, this is going to be a game that you're going to die a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's not an easy game. But once again, playing the game as much as I have a leg up. Oh! Nope. Get out of here, lasers. These are things that you cannot destroy. Same thing with that, and these guys you can't actually kill unless you get them in the lasers. And I think that's pretty cool because when a player can kill just about everything, like you're talking about, like if you had a gun, there's all right, I'm gonna go around killing everything. It I think disengages a character sometimes in a game like this, and you're not, the character or the player themselves doesn't have to worry about thinking. I mean, I can just go through and just shoot everything and not worry about it.
Yeah, like
Yay, card.
yeah, so like the broom in a way is sort of like, because we didn't want to, I mean, it is the main mode of interaction with the world, but by making it kind of like a non-traditional weapon, it kind of de-emphasizes like killing, I guess, like the point. Like there's obviously killing in the game, but it's not something that is
it's not the most prominent part of the game.
Yeah, like we didn't want to really empower the player with like a weapon or something.
That's definitely the story's not about. We talked about it earlier. The sage, the village elder says, you need to go protect the briar. You need to stop the evil, and that starts off at a very good kind of base. But that's not really the whole thing. It's not about destroying the evil and being the good. There's a lot of more character development and introverted thought, a lot of inspection upon the character of Young, I would say.
It's kind of like it's a bit of like a misdirection at first. Swagger has a lot of cool art that he did for Anodyne.
Oh yeah, please link that if one of the mods can go ahead and !permit Swagger. I don't know exactly how much that's going to allow him to link, but you're welcome to link as much as you want.
Someone else is going to do it.
Ooh, get him over there. One of the puzzles in the game.
Kurt, how the hell does dust float on bloody water?
Magic.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Come on.
Like the narrative dissonance. Like why? Here's a bad explanation for you. I have nothing for you. Sorry.
Now you got to go. My favorite gameplay mechanic. But yeah, it's and then is this bloody water, or is it something else?
Oh, it's supposed to be blood.
Okay. So yeah, it just because this is a game that, once again, luckily we have the developer here, Sean Hogan, and once again, can we get some links in Nightbot, please, for the different links that we have? Sean, you're welcome to link anything you'd like as well, including, you had the Bandicamp a moment ago. Umzok says it could be Orange Tang. It's very possible. The water.
Possible. I mean,
possible.
If you interpreted the entire game under this like lifeblood of Tang, maybe you'll find something very important about existence.
A realization and revelation for many.
Yeah, exactly. Bye, Swag. See ya.
Now you will drown. Oh, yep, drown there. You will drown here. So this is in any of the water in the game. You need to make sure that you don't stay in any one place for too long, which I'm actually totally boning. Totally boning.
Yeah, so So I worked on this with my friend John. I posted his Twitter just now. John's role was he did all of the artwork in the game.
Okay.
Pretty much all of the writing for the game.
Uh-huh.
And he helped with the design of the areas that aren't dungeons.
Okay, yeah, the overall hub world and such.
Yeah, so like he did all the details of the field. He did a lot of the. So what happened with the last areas? So we worked on all those like non-dungeon areas last, and what happened with those is that I kind of like outlined them on paper and like sketched them out in terms of what they did, and he went ahead and used those to kind of design those levels.
Okay, yeah.
And those came out very nicely.
Yeah, no, I think everything in the game is very well designed. So much kudos to both of you.
Thank you. Yeah, and with the story, again, like I had these ideas and whatnot that I wanted to try and play with, and when he started working with me, he was like, why don't we add a narrative on top of it to help convey those things easier, and then he did all the writing for that, and it worked out.
Very cool. Let's get all of our enemies killed here, and that was actually our first death here. Going to prove to you that yes, truly the game is difficult, even though I have played it. So I think you guys are going to get a lot of good stuff here if you're looking for something that's challenging. But there are enough checkpoints because the C's are checkpoints. Yes, I believe Steiner asked that a little bit ago, and it's going to allow you to. Oh, don't kill our rock guy. No. It'll allow you to, as long as you persevere with it, you're still going to be able to most likely come out victorious because there are those checkpoints that fully heal you as well. And also, happy birthday, Rocker Dude, man. Congratulations on another year, my friend. All right, so we're going to pick up our second key, and we'll be able to now proceed a little bit farther into this part of the dungeon. This dungeon's a little bit different than the other ones in that it's split it up into different areas that you unlock as you move through that first little section. Happy birthday during the Steam Summer Sale is either an amazing thing or it's terrible, depending on if you're the wallet or not.
There goes your entire birthday money.
Oh yeah, there will be no birthday money.
I found myself like looking through the games and just adding stuff to the cart, and then I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm not gonna ever play all of these. So I just like I bought Flyin', which is a platformer, which is
okay.
It's fine, I guess. And then I bought System Shock 2, which is pretty good so far. I like it.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
System Shock 2, for those of you, I would say the average viewer is a little bit younger. I would say a few of us are a little bit older, myself included. System Shock 2 is an amazing game. That was, I won't say survival horror, but that was kind of a horror game back in the day. That game was a little scary.
Yeah, like it seems like it will be scary. Hopefully I can get through that. I'm not a huge fan of like horror stuff in general, but it seems like a very good game, and friends recommend it. So
yeah, well, I feel in a lot of ways like Anodyne. It's not Anodyne, like this is kind of creepy right here. It's like that in it's not, there's things bumping around the corner, but that's more of like you're afraid of losing health. I don't feel that it's like I'm afraid to go into the room because Slenderman's gonna jump out at me. It's
exactly.
You're afraid for your life because you're not really sure what's going on. Things are bumping in the night, and you're possibly gonna die if you don't know what you're doing. But it's a great game. It definitely ushered in a lot of what you see nowadays. So I think that was a good purchase, my friend. And the fact that you haven't played it yet makes it all the better. New experience.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to finish it.
Oh!
I do finish.
Well, we're starting to kind of get closer to the end of the time slot. This is actually one of the harder bosses, I would say, off the bat. All the bosses are kind of difficult. Don't get me wrong. But this guy, if you're not watching his patterns, I think can be a little difficult for some. But why make the bosses a little bit harder? Or is that just how they turned out? It wasn't so much of a gameplay idea.
Which?
We're fighting the octopus guy.
So why make this guy harder? Or
well, I do feel that the bosses in general are a decent bit harder. The game has a good difficulty curve to it in general.
Okay, yeah.
Did they come out as like, I want to make the bosses harder, I want to make them a challenge, or is it more of just how the design came out?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, like, some people still think the bosses are like pushovers, but they're like, I wanted to make them a little bit challenging, but also kind of relate them to the areas.
Sure.
And again, so like when you're finishing a boss, it's kind of like, oh god, what the hell is that? Okay, I know that glitch. It's never gonna get fixed. That's okay. But the bosses are, I mean, when they're a little bit harder, like, I think it kind of, I don't know, I don't think that much of this was explicit when I was thinking about it. I think a lot of it was just kind of like I wanted to make a boss that was sort of hard and kind of relates to the story. But in retrospect, is that room going backwards? Wait.
I've actually never seen this. This is new to me.
Wait, I want to see that. I think in retrospect, having bosses there works in a way of kind of giving a feeling of kind of conquering this like one, area of the holy shit.
Yeah, I'm yeah.
What is that from?
It looks like Alpaca Patrol. What's up, man? It looks like I don't need slow mode on. Good call,
I believe
man.
it's when you get like offset from the hitbox.
Release the Kraken.
Like, air and you like beat the boss and it changes the mode of the player and everything goes to hell. That's okay. Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, the bosses were just done just kind of like a natural thing that wasn't thought a lot about in terms of mechanics, other than just being a little bit tougher.
I gotta admit, no slow-mos from a bros. Astro Marine, welcome as well. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and hanging out with us. We're hanging out with Sean Hogan, the creator of Anodyne. And a little bit, do you want to plug your next game a little bit more, too, while we're wrapping this up?
Yeah, let me pull up the devlog so I can paraphrase from it, because I'm bad at talking about it off the top of my head. So, our next game is a game called Even the Ocean, and it is this kind of like action-y adventure, like platforming game. It doesn't have a lot of focus on, it doesn't really have any focus on killing. So the main like interaction with the world is basically, obviously jumping through it or exploring through it in this like side-scrolling perspective, but there's not really health or killing. It's this like kind of energy balancing mechanism. So basically making it through, a lot of the areas is kind of a matter of balancing the different types of energy that can kind of like hurt you. So as like a really basic example, like maybe there's like a dark laser and a white laser, and if the dark one hits you too much, then you'll start to die, but you can balance that out by getting hit by the white one.
Sure.
And so that's a very basic example, but it opens the door for a lot of interesting ways in which you can kind of structure a level around.
Right.
As you change the ways in which you can change the energy balance, and so that plays out in this one. So there's two like separate worlds to the game. One of them is this world, this character named Aleph.
Okay.
And it's kind of this dream world again, similar to Anodyne, except it's kind of this dream that isn't consciously recognized by the real world character.
Okay.
So that story is kind of exploring, this entire sort of like this other world that has its own set of rules.
Okay. Yeah.
Energy balancing thing there too, and you're trying to make it through there. And then in the real world is this character named Even, and you're kind of going through different like moments in a period of her life.
Okay.
And from that part of Even, you can also enter like sort of these like daydream areas, which might play a little more abstractly, similar to some of the parts of Anodyne, but with the same platform mechanics and balancing mechanics. And so the game is kind of progressing like through those two stories. You go back and forth between them, and hopefully we can find interesting things to do with the balancing mechanic, as well as kind of making it fun to travel through the world. So it's kind of like exploratory like Metroid, but we kind of want to make a contrast between stages being, more fast-paced, action-based, kind of like Mega Man X, or, more passive and relaxed, kind of like Knit stories.
Right, right. Yeah, which another indie game that definitely had some pretty interesting action for sure.
Yeah, so that was my very. I hope to figure out a way to talk about that more concisely in the future, especially since we'll be at PAX.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, in August, late August.
Very cool. Shoot. Any extra thoughts, my friend? We still got you. You have 10 minutes, my friend. You can do whatever you'd like.
Let's see. Someone asked if we can ask about game development. Go ahead, that's fine.
Yeah, anybody that has questions. We have Sean Hogan, the creator of Anodyne, here. You guys, this is the time to ask. There's no slow mode. Alpaca said no, and his voice was heard.
Random thoughts about games. So one thing I tried doing yesterday. So I've been noticing that there's a lot of like hierarchical like power structures in Steam.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's a business, right? So they need to make money. So they will sell and promote the games that already sell well. So, you know, you'll see Hotline Miami get, you know, the 10,000th promotion. I mean, it's an amazing game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sells well. And, you know, it's nice, but one thing I think would be great is that if people, like, started focusing on, or if they put more effort towards making their own storefronts. Because now that we have things like, you know, now that there's Twitter and Facebook pages and, you know, the Humble widget, I started to think that it might be a good idea if people started to, like, make their own curated stores that do not feature games that are publicly lauded enough to sell well on their own.
Right.
And so let me just plug the... So what I want to happen, and I think Gabe Newell was talking about this with Steam, is that the power will move, the selling power will move from sort of like Steam towards, it'll be more balanced and spread out among individual public figures to have their own storefronts.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully what'll happen, you know, I don't know if it will happen, that people will kind of make their own stores, like assembling, you know, various humble widgets or links to available or free games, and, you know, people will start looking at, say, like, I don't know, like Poe's store or something, or like someone else's store or whatever.
Mm-hmm. True.
Instead of, and I think that will help with discoverability, because, you know, if you're on Steam, like, you know, you'll probably do pretty well because at some point you eventually get like a daily deal, or if you get like, if you put your game on sale, you sell well. But there's a lot of games that just don't get advertised a lot. Like, a really weird thing I see is like how often a lot of people will repeatedly like advertise games that don't need to be advertised. Like, someone will be like, you know, the must pick up game of this sale is Faster Than Light. You know, FTL is an amazing game, but, you know, couldn't you have spent, you know, that social media power on a game that could have used it a lot more? Like, so,
right.
Like FTL has sold many copies, and it's on the front page of Steam. Like,
pretty often.
You don't need to promote it. Like, I don't know.
No, I think you're hitting a good point of, and especially if Steam is going to be helping with this, because they are pretty much, I mean, there's Desura and there's other stuff. Indie City, I believe, is one of the other ones, but those really can't put the power out that Steam can. So it would be nice to see individuals like Steam and developers in general getting together to promote more of the smaller games that really need it, whether it's through Greenlight or another system that maybe works out a little bit differently. So we'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, and this isn't like, you know, someone might construe it as, you know, okay, like, this isn't related to games that are on Steam. This is like games that aren't on Steam. Like, there's a lot of like really great games that are out there. Like, let me just name a few, like The Real Texas by like Calvin French or Knit Underground.
Right.
Those are like basically in Greenlight purgatory, and I consider them and a lot of others too to be like very good, or maybe even better than a lot of games on Steam.
Sure. Yeah.
And no one ever is mentioning those as something that you must buy when it's on sale. We're just like plugging, I don't know, Hotline Miami for the 10th time.
Right.
Which is, okay, because it's a good game, but we could be, I think, improving the whole culture as a whole if we're kind of promoting a more diverse set of games instead of, these like top 10, really popular games that you should play, which are good games.
Right. No, I agree, and I think you're being very classy about it too. It's just it would be nice to see maybe a little bit of love shown to those that maybe could use it a bit more. If the product's a good game, it should get the exposure. And the problem, I would say, from a lot of indie developers is exposure. It's not that you guys have a good or bad game. It's going to be a matter of more, if you can get the exposure, the game will sell itself. But showing off maybe some of the games that are the big game that everybody knows about, maybe it'd be nice to switch it out for one of the games that could use a little bit of love.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree.
Oh, someone asked a question.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go for it.
Looking at the chat. John is not in the chat. I guess he could be if he wanted to, but I don't know. I sometimes forget to tell him about everything.
That's okay.
Someone asked, where was it? There's a question.
What is this programmed in? Is Clips the Gamer asked.
There we go. That's right. This is programmed in ActionScript 3 using the Flixel framework. I'll write that down.
Okay. And 2 people put in their blood, sweat, and tears to create this, correct? Or was there a little bit more?
John and I.
John and I. Okay. John and Sean.
Yeah, John and Sean. And Scooter. Yeah, 10% skill, 10% luck, 8% whoring. There is a lot of luck. And that's why I don't want to... Like, I know that the game, like, a lot of it doing well is the fact that we made a game and finished it that was, it's a pretty good game, but a lot of it still is luck, right? So you can't... the thing you never want to do is, like, fool yourself into thinking that, I completely, like, 100% deserve to, like, be in this position.
Right.
Because that's totally false, and... Like, name any game, and there's, like, some incredible stroke of luck that they had in their development.
Yes.
Almost certainly.
And I think that works with both people that do YouTube, people that stream. Any type of entertainment through this media is there's gonna be some luck involved.
Yeah. And so, like, that's also why it's, like, so important for people who have gotten very powerful in the scene to be giving back to those who are not as well known.
Right.
Right, because in a way, everyone kind of relies on everyone for influence. Like, so, like, I have a lot of friends, and maybe they haven't released, large games, but they put out very good, like, smaller games, and I owe a lot to them for what they've done in development, So it's not like, okay, I sat down and I made this game by myself, and I did it all myself because I'm a genius. That's, like, not the case. A lot of it's, like, feedback from others or, like, influences you get from other people's, like, work. And I don't know. This is something I've been upset about lately, so...
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you're able to feel comfortable enough to voice your opinion about that. It definitely having a quality product. Oh, to be continued. Definitely, it's good to be able to voice your opinion about something like that, especially when you feel that there are kind of injustices a little bit going on with a area that you feel very strongly about. It's definitely a part of you, for sure.
I mean, and there's certainly, like, other injustices in the world, right? Like, many other countries.
Sure.
But, it's, like, harder to have an influence in those, so, you may as well pick something that you can maybe do something about.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, as much as it would be amazing to be able to solve the world's problems, if you can kind of make your world better as well as you can, definitely go for it.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Sean Hogan, once again, if we can get the Nightbot links there. If you'd like to leave any other links, he's going to be hanging out with us a little bit on and off, hopefully, if we can. And thank you once again for coming on to hang out with us. I greatly appreciate that.
I'll probably be here for about maybe till the end of Poe's thing, at least a little bit. I might have to, like, run off somewhere.
Okay, yeah, that's no problem. I'm really glad to have you here. And feel free to jump back on and say hi to us.
Should I hang in the voice chat or go back?